Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Ari Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
We're here in Perek Gimel, continuing where we left off. The Gemara in Eruvin, Gemara says, Noich lo adam shelo nivra yoisem mishenivra. Va'achshav shenivra yifashvesh b'maisav. V'ikad amri yimashmesh b'maisav. The Gemara in Eruvin makes a stunning statement. Better that we should never have been created in the first place. Okay, but it's not up to us. God created us already. We're here already. So now that we should not have been created, what should we be doing? We're here already. So he says we have to be yifashmesh b'maisav or yimashmesh b'maisav. We have to be checking our ways or we have to be feeling our ways. What does that mean? So says the Mesil Yisharim, B'tireh sheshnei lishonos hem shnei atharos toivos mo'ilis moed. These two lishonos, these two different girsos in the Gemara tell us two different ways that a person is supposed to be looking at what they're doing in life. Kinei hapishpush b'maisim hu lachkor al klal ha'maisim litbonen bo hanimtza behem maisim asher lo yasu asher einam hochim al pi mitzvos Hashem u'chukav. The first one is a person should be looking more generally. What am I doing? This is a hard thing for people to do because I don't want to really check what I'm doing. Checking what I'm doing means that I actually have to stop and think about one of the hardest things to think about, which is what am I doing? What am I doing? I have to stop and think about that. We already discussed that a person has to stop beforehand and think about what the right thing is, regardless of whether I'm doing it or not. What is the right thing to do? And then the second step is to think about, well, what am I doing? And when you take the two and you compare them, that's where you can have a very stark difference in reality between what you're actually doing and what you're supposed to be doing. And this, we said, is a very, very difficult thing for most people to do because I don't want anybody to tell me that I'm doing the wrong thing. So nobody's telling you you're doing the wrong thing. You're telling yourself that you're doing the wrong thing. Person has to decide for themselves that I want to do the right thing. This is the biggest step in the world, is that I need to have enough motivation to decide I want to do the right thing. Not I want to do the thing that everybody else is doing. Right? I think I mentioned here once that there was a certain person who was involved with social media, and they was certainly corrupting them. There was no question about it. In this specific case, obviously, in most cases, social media corrupts a person, but I'm talking about a very specific case. And when I suggested to this person who had a very, very extreme exposure to a certain aspect of social media, when I suggested that to them that they maybe should stop doing this, they said, no, I can't, because all my friends are doing it, and I have to do it too. It's a very sad reality, unfortunately, that people care more about being with their friends than they care about their own lives. Everybody's doing something wrong, so I'm going to do that thing wrong too, just so I could be with them, even though it's going to destroy my life completely. A person to stop and think about my life. What am I doing with my life? And am I going to let all my bad friends going to hurt me and pull me in the wrong direction? That's terrible. In fact, in the Midah of Zehirus, later on, that's exactly what the Mesil Yisharim says. He says one of the problems that people have with being koine, this Midah of Zehirus, of being careful, is bad friends. That your friends pull you to do something that's bad. And maybe even objectively, you know it's bad. But the brain has so many ways, not just the brain, a person's desires have so many ways of saying, it's okay. No, don't think about it. It's really okay. I can do this. I can do that. When a person stops and says, what is the right thing to do? That's step one. What's the right thing to do? Having nothing to do with me. If I had to make a list of things to do, is it the right thing to do A, B, and C? So a person can fool themselves at that point also and say, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with A, B, and C. There's nothing wrong with it. So of course I do it, and I'm okay with that. So you can legitimize anything that you're doing. So look objectively, what's right and what's wrong obviously stems with our emunah in Hashem and in the Torah. And understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and He knows what the best thing for us is. And then we can understand objectively what I'm supposed to be doing. And then the second step after that is now, what am I doing? So the first step, the first part over here is what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing or am I doing the wrong thing? That's a very hard thing to face. It's a very hard thing to face. I think it was before Rosh Hashanah, somebody spoke in our shul and they said a very nice thing. Maybe I mentioned it here before, but I'll repeat it again because it was a really, really nice thing. Person said that he got a letter. He got a letter before, I think it was before Rosh Hashanah. And the letter was a handwritten letter. You ever heard of a handwritten letter? Wow, in 2025, somebody had a handwritten letter. He got a handwritten letter. And he opened it up and he realized this letter he wrote to himself. He wrote a letter to himself. He gave it to a friend of his. He says, I want you to mail this to me a month before or 2 months before. You know, the mail here in Israel is not exactly the best. 2 months before Rosh Hashanah, and he got it in the mail. And he was able to read to himself what he said about himself a year ago. Where am I holding a year ago? Am I holding in the same place? A very big shock. Like, am I? And he said in front of the whole shul, he said, and I realized I'm exactly the same person I was a year ago. Exactly the same. It's a big shock. But a person has to do the first step, which is write the letter. Where am I holding? What am I doing? Is it the right thing to do? Is it not the right thing to do? Think about myself. We think we're young and we have time. We push this off. And it might turn 80, 85, 90 years old and look back, what happened to my life? How come I couldn't take the time to work on it? How come I didn't have enough courage back then? It would have been so much easier. Now what am I supposed to do? We do it when we're young. You can reach the stars. It may be amazing. But everybody has to take that time and have the courage to face themselves in the mirror and say, what am I doing and is it the right thing to do? And the best thing to do is to use a pen. Because when you write it with a pen, you can't lie. Somehow you can't write something that's a lie. It's an amazing thing. When I'm writing my own chidushim, when I'm writing it, sometimes I get stuck. I can't write what I'm about to write. Why? Because it didn't make sense. In my head it made sense, but when I started to write, it didn't make sense. It helps you work things out to write things down. An eitzah tova for everybody. When a person is doing what we're going to call here cheshbon nefesh, could either write it down. It's an amazing thing, and a person who does it, takes advantage of it, can reach amazing, amazing heights. Okay, we'll stop over here.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.